You're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Health Darbar. Bhakti ji is here to explain about the counseling, how it works, and what does a counselor do, etc. And before we start the session, I invite Ashu ji to do the morning prayer. Over to you, Ashu ji.
गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन। हमारे श्रद्धेय गुरु डॉक्टर के अग्रवाल जी के चरणों में बारंबार प्रणाम। आप सभी को चैत्र शुक्ल पक्ष के तृतीय नवरात्रि की हार्दिक बधाई। सर ने हमें नवरात्रों को एक डिफरेंट एंगल से देखना समझाया था। आज देवी चंद्र घंटा की प्रार्थना करते हैं हम। आज के दिन पूजा की जाती है जिनके 10 हाथ, त्रिशूल, कमल, कमांडलू, रोजरी और अभय मुद्रा, इनके बारे में सर ने हमें समझाया था। आइए सब मिलकर नवरात्रि की प्रार्थना करें। सर्वमंगल मांगल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थ साधिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते। हे नारायणी, तुम सब प्रकार का मंगल प्रदान करने वाली मंगलमयी हो, कल्याण दायिनी शिवा हो, सब पुरुषार्थों को सिद्ध करने वाली शरणागत वत्सला, 3 नेत्रों वाली एवं गौरी हो, तुम्हें नमस्कार है। शरणागत दीनार्थ परित्राण परायणे सर्वस्यार्ति हरे देवी नारायणी नमोस्तुते। शरण में आए हुए दीनों एवं पीड़ितों की रक्षा में संलग्न रहने वाली तथा सबकी पीड़ा दूर करने वाली नारायणी देवी, तुम्हें नमस्कार है। सर्व स्वरूपे सर्वेशे सर्वशक्ति समन्विते भये भयस्त्राहिनो देवी दुर्गे देवी नमोस्तुते। सर्व स्वरूपा, सर्वेश्वरी तथा सब प्रकार की शक्तियों से संपन्न दिव्य रूपा दुर्गे देवी, सब भयों से हमारी रक्षा करो, तुम्हें नमस्कार है। रोगान शेषान अपहंसि तुष्टा रुष्टा तु कामान सकलान भिष्टान त्वामाश्रितानां न विपन्नराणां त्वामाश्रिता ह्यश्रयतां प्रयान्ति। देवी, तुम प्रसन्न होने पर सब रोगों को नष्ट कर देती हो और कुपित होने पर मनोवांछित सभी कामनाओं का नाश कर देती हो। जो लोग तुम्हारी शरण में जा चुके हैं उन पर विपत्ति तो आती ही नहीं। तुम्हारी शरण में गए हुए मनुष्य दूसरों को शरण देने वाले हो जाते हैं। आप सभी को नवरात्रि की हार्दिक बधाई। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Ashu ji. So we are learning about mental health workers who can help us in the mental well-being. So last week we have understood who is a counselor, who is a psychiatrist, who is psychologist, and taking forward the same series, Bhakti ji will tell us about how the counseling works. What does exactly a counselor do? Over to you, Bhakti ji.
Good morning, everyone. So, continuing our series from last time, where we spoke about who is the psychologist and who is the counselor and who is a psychotherapist. Today, we are going to talk about what is it that you should expect and how does the counseling session work. The one thing that is very important to understand is that who goes to a psychologist, who should go to a psychologist. अभी ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है कि आपको कुछ हो रहा हो to go to a psychologist. Sometimes you will go to a psychologist सिर्फ इसलिए कि कुछ clarity चाहिए, कि कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, कुछ clarity चाहिए. Sometimes you will go to a psychologist when you feel that I want an unbiased and a very objective person to listen to me. Normally क्या होता है कि you already know the answers. आपको आपके solutions, answers पता है, मगर जब आप openly किसी के साथ बात करते हो और जब आप without any fear of judgment, किसी के साथ बात करते हो, those solutions come to you. So who should go to a psychologist? Whether you are feeling well, whether you are feeling sad, whether you are feeling upset, whether you are feeling low, whether you're feeling high, whether you're feeling agitated, or you're just feeling like talking to somebody, anybody can go to a therapist. So you don't have to feel unwell to go to a therapist, number one. Now, for the first session, when you go to a therapist, depending on the kind of therapist she is or he is, the first two sessions will be a rapport building session. The first session is always a background session where she's trying to understand कि आप क्यों आए हो उनके पास, आपका background क्या है, your education, your family's education, your health, your last test that you have done. Very often we ask you for your last tests if you have done any. So पहला session always background और history में जाता है. Second session is where she's trying to understand कि आपका main issue क्या है. It's a rapport building issue where she's asking you, she's trying to find out what exactly you will. In the second session, she will tell you how many sessions or how much she will help you. Of course, all sessions, all psychology counseling sessions are always completely client centered, जिसका मतलब है कि आप you have to carry on, and it's important that you decide the course of the therapy. कोई भी therapist आपको advice नहीं देगा unless it's brief therapy. Now, depending on the therapist, after the second session of the therapy, she will tell you कि ये मुझे 2 session लगेंगे या 10 session लगेंगे या हमको 1 महीना या 3 महीना साथ में काम करना पड़ेगा. This is very important कि वो आपको बताए कि what does she think कि कितना टाइम लगेगा. Of course, उनके बताने के बाद भी आपको कम या ज्यादा समय लग सकता है. That is irrelevant. But she will tell you the course of the therapy sessions. What to expect when you go. One, you should expect from the therapist, you should expect complete confidentiality, which means आपने उनके साथ जो बात किया है वो completely confidential, किसी को नहीं बताएंगे. उनके recordings अगर कुछ होंगे, because she is allowed to make recordings, उनके recordings या records जो होंगे वो किसी के पास वो share नहीं करेंगे. They are also to be kept under lock and key. Okay, so confidentiality is one thing. One thing is non-judgmental. आप कुछ भी बताएं उनको, आपके बारे में, आपके वाइफ के बारे में, आपकी लाइफ के बारे में, आपके रिलेटिव्स के बारे में, आपके दोस्त के बारे में, आप उनको जो भी बताएं, she is completely unbiased and she is very unjudgmental. ये बहुत important है कि कोई आपकी थेरेपिस्ट जो है आपको जज नहीं करे. Okay, then there is a show of compassion. अगर आप उनके साथ कंफर्टेबल फील करेंगे तो आप उनको आपकी बातें बताएंगे कि आपकी तकलीफें क्या है बताएंगे. So there is a therapist has to be compassionate. That's very important. So अगर आप उनके पास उनसे 2-3 सेशन के बाद भी अगर कंफर्टेबल नहीं फील कर रहे हैं for whatever reason, not her fault, not your fault, so it's important that you look for somebody else. Because it's very important कि आप comfortable feel करें in that relationship. Now, a therapist and a client relationship is of equals. तो कोई सिखा नहीं रहा है ये relationship में, वो equal relationship है. मतलब कि अगर 90 साल की भी मेरी patient हुई या client हुई, तो फिर भी मैं उनके नाम लेके बात करती हूँ और उनको बोलती हूँ कि मेरा नाम ले, so that we are starting on an equal footing. ऐसा नहीं फील कराना चाहिए कि मैं ज्यादा जानती हूँ वो कम जानते हैं. So that's very important that the relationship is equal. In a 45-minute therapy session, it's normally about half an hour or more than half an hour, about 35 minutes, you will hear only the patient speaking. सिर्फ पेशेंट बात करेंगे. The reason for that is that वो जितना बात करेंगे उतना ही उन्हें अपने बारे में क्लैरिटी मिलेगा. The role of the therapist is to ask questions, to ask easy questions, sometimes uncomfortable questions, sometimes thought-provoking questions. And it's very important for the client to be completely honest. Now, this is the expectation of the therapist. Now, what is the expectation from the client? The expectation from the client is that he or she be completely honest. Normally in a therapy, 99% of therapy sessions, वो client ये बोल के आते हैं कि मुझे stress है और मेरा सर में दर्द है. By the time third, fourth session में, the problem is completely different. ये you're wasting time. If you know what your problem is, you should be. If you don't know, तो उसका कुछ नहीं कर सकते. मगर अगर आप जानते हैं कि आपकी तकलीफ क्या है, तो it's very important that the client be honest with the therapist. Another thing which is very important that the client do is regularity. क्योंकि अगर आपके थेरेपी सेशंस में स्टॉप गैप्स होंगे, शुरू होगा बंद होगा, शुरू होगा बंद होगा, एक महीने में एक सेशन होगा, it's not going to help you. It doesn't help anybody. Okay, so your sessions have to be on a depending on between you and your therapist. आपने क्या decide किया है? मगर अगर आपने decide किया है मैं हफ्ते में एक session लूँगा, which is normally the case, तो you have to be there on a weekly basis. क्योंकि क्या होता है कि अगर आप एक हफ्ता भी बीच में आप session नहीं लेते हो, then 2 हफ्ते का gap बन जाता है. And then वो जो कंटिन्यूटी है, जो आपने कंफर्टेबल फील किया था, जो उसने एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट किया है आपके लिए, जो कंफर्ट क्रिएट किया है, उसमें देयर आर प्रॉब्लम्स. सो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि यू स्टे कंसिस्टेंट. इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट यू स्टे रेगुलर. So now this is the expectation of the client and the therapist. Now once you are in the relationship, now what is the expectation when you are in the therapy session? Expectation number 1 from both is that there should be complete clarity from both sides. मैं कितना पैसा दे सकता हूँ, मैं कभी दूंगा, मैं कितना आपको टाइम दे सकती हूँ. The therapist should say she should be absolutely bang on time every time she has a therapy session with you. She should be very, very, he or she should be very, very sure about the baselines, whether she's clarified with you. ये बहुत important है कि पहले से ही there is clarity in your client-therapist relationship. When you are talking about your problems, whatever your problems are, and after some time she will decide what is the kind of therapy she wants to use. Now there are, like I had said before, there are different types of therapists. Now if she wants to use a particular type of therapy, she will tell you that this is what I'm going to use with you, this is what it will do, this is how it will help you. And so once those therapy sessions are done, by the end of the last maybe 2 sessions, she should be able to help you to help yourself. This is also very important कि आपको सिखाएं कि अगली बार ऐसा कुछ हो तो आप उसको मैनेज. ऑफ कोर्स यू कैन गो बैक टू हर, पर आप अपने आप उसको मैनेज कैसे कर सकते हैं. ओके, नाउ सपोज फॉर व्हाटएवर रीजन ये आपका जो रिलेशनशिप है बीच में स्टॉप हो जाता है या आप नहीं कंटिन्यू कर पाते. शी हैज टू गिव यू, ही और शी हैज टू गिव यू अ रेफरल. व्हाट इज अ रेफरल? A referral is a letter that she will make about your case, not of course giving details, but telling the other therapist, अगर आप किसी और के पास जा रहे हो, telling the other therapist कि आपने क्या काम, उन्होंने आपके साथ क्या काम किया है और क्या काम करना बाकी है. Okay, so that is about referral. Now by the end of the session, okay, in the winding up session, a therapist can there are two ways of doing it. Your winding up session could be a culmination of all sessions कि भाई हो गया, आपको debrief कर दिया, आपको सिखा दिया आप how you need to help yourself, or she closes the sessions, and this is a mutual thing. Normally what happens by the 10th or the 12th session, the client becomes so used to the therapist that the client feels कि अगर मुझे बात करनी होगी तो, अगर मेरा कोई इश्यू होगा तो, so some therapists leave a window open कि अच्छा हम phase out करेंगे, तो instead of every week हम every 15 days करेंगे, फिर every month करेंगे, फिर every 3 months करेंगे, so they phase the session out till the client is comfortable. Some therapists, when they are sure that the client is a high functioning client, will stop the sessions and they will debrief you, they will stop the sessions, and that is it. So depending on the client's needs, they will finish your sessions. Okay, so that's the end of the session. It's a lot of times people ask me, क्या हमें, will we need to talk about our childhood? Do the sessions progress like that? Do we need to talk about in the counseling sessions, क्या हमें अपने बचपन के बारे में बात करना पड़ेगा, क्या हमारी जिंदगी जो बीत गई है उसके बारे में बात करना पड़ेगा? And there are many of my clients are elderly clients, और वो सोचे हैं कि अगर मैं आज 70 बरस का हूँ, 70 साल का हूँ, तो 70 साल की मेरी पीछे की जिंदगी will only be 5-6 sessions, right? So to clarify this myth that all therapists won't ask you to talk about your childhood, all therapists will not ask you to talk about your past life. Okay, there are some therapists which are goal oriented, which means आपका goal क्या है? 5 साल में this is where I want to be, अभी मैं I am at this state, but in 5 years this is what I want to feel, and they will see that you reach that goal. Okay, so ये मिथ है कि आपको बिठा के रखते हैं और आपको 45 minutes अपने बारे में, अपनी जिंदगी के बारे में बात करना पड़ता है. That's not true. Some people ask me, do they give you homework? All therapists will ask you for some work that you will have to do at home. Each and every therapist. और इसका मतलब नहीं है कि आपको पूरे दिन बैठ के काम करना पड़ेगा, या they may ask you to write a diary, 2-3 sentences every day. They may ask you to think about something. They may ask you to practice breathing. They may ask you to go out. It depends on what your need is. All therapists, especially with anxiety and depression patients, we do an exercise which is called shame bashing exercises. All therapists will ask you to do it. It's very important कि आप ये जो काम किया बोला गया है वो करें, क्योंकि if you don't do it and come back to them, they will not have enough knowledge and enough insight into what you are feeling. Okay, so yes, there is some work that needs to be done by the client. Then I get questions about क्या लेटना पड़ेगा, क्या hypnosis होता है, क्या हमको hypnotize करेंगे. There are some therapists who use hypnosis, but there are different reasons why they will use hypnosis. This kind of hypnosis is very different from what your understanding is of hypnosis. कि भाई आपको मुर्गा बना दिया, कि आप अलग वॉइस में बात करने लगे. That is not hypnosis. They send you back into your mind and thoughts, and it's a very different way of using hypnosis. अच्छा, some people say hypnotize करके क्या हमारी secrets, हमारे बैंक अकाउंट नंबर्स वो पूछ लेंगे क्या? ये सब नहीं होता है. Because it's not that you are not aware about what she's asking you. आप trance state में नहीं चले जाते हो. Okay, so that is and also understand that your relationship with your therapist is of trust. अगर आप trust नहीं कर पा रहे हो उसको, then you have no business and she has no business being in that relationship. Only if there is absolute trust should you be in that relationship with the therapist. the therapy and the therapist and client relationship. So that is very important. I get questions where they say, "Okay, if there is a failure, for example, if there is a failure in suicide prevention, तो ये किसका जिम्मा होता है? Whose fault is it?" I get asked that if उसने therapist ने किसी को बता दिया मेरी बातें, तो ये क्या कर सकते हैं? You can go legal and the therapist can lose her license. Unfortunately, in India, therapists have only one type of license, and they don't have different bodies that give them licenses. But magar you can, she's not allowed to reveal anything that you say to her. Okay, but there is a time when she can reveal. If she feels that there is a threat to your life and there is a threat to somebody else's life, only then is she allowed to reveal. Another time that she's allowed to reveal by a written consent from you, which means कि lots of people अपना will अपने psychologist के पास छोड़ के जाते हैं, and they give the psychologist a living will, which means that after you pass away, मेरे family को ये बोल देना. So it's not a will about wealth, but it is about information that they want to give their family when they pass away. So they don't want to give that information when they are alive. So मेरे जाने के बाद मेरी family को ये बोल देना. So that's a written thing that you give your therapist, and the therapist helps you after you pass away. There are some clients that I have who are a later stage in their life, and they feel that there are some things that they haven't revealed to their family, their children and family, and then they feel कि भाई अगर मैं अभी बोल दूंगा तो वो लोग मुझे judge करेंगे, और so you do it after we pass away. So we have these kind of living wills where they are written statements by the client, and which is passed on to the family only after they pass away. So this was like a brief of what happens in the counseling. I can take questions if there are any questions, sir.
That's quite informative, Bhakti ji. So there are often many confusions, many clarifications involved, taboos involved with the psychologists, psychotherapists. So thank you for clarifying the things. Now the forum is open for question answers. Are there any? I think it's what you have told is very much clear, and no one has any doubts of such. Yeah. So thank you for joining, everyone. Thank you, Bhakti ji. And
Thank you very much.
Every Monday, the same type of sessions will be continued, depending upon the mental health. We go deep into the subject week by week. And
if there are any suggestions that you would like to, please put it on the HCFI chat. If there is anything that in particular that you all would like me to touch on, I would be more than willing to. Thank you very much. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.